Now it's being pitched, of course, as the final battle of 2023, and it has entered its last lap this week. Counting will take place on Sunday, but campaigning will end tomorrow in Telangana, the last of the 5 states to go to the polls. All the parties have fielded their big guns in the last stretch. Chief Minister K. Chandrasekhar Rao, fighting arguably his toughest political battle, is leading from the front for his Bharat Rashtra Samiti. Congress leaders Mallikarjun Kharge, Rahul Gandhi and Priyanka Gandhi Vadra all addressing rallies in Telangana, and Prime Minister Narendra Modi leading the charge for his party with a roadshow through Hyderabad. Now, amidst all of this, there was a setback for K. Chandrasekhar Rao, the Chief Minister, and his Bharat Rashtra Samiti. Today, the Election Commission withdrew the permission given to the Telangana government to disperse financial aid to farmers under the Rythu Bandhu scheme. The decision comes after a State Minister Harish Rao made a public announcement claiming that people would get cash benefits up to 5,000 rupees on the 29th of this month, a day before Telangana goes to the polls. The EC has taken a dim view of that announcement and said that the Rythu Bandhu scheme disbursements cannot take place till the elections are over. The TRS is upset, claiming that the Congress and the BJP are conspiring against the farmers of the state. We're going to look at the Election Commission and the role of money power in a moment. But first, take a look at tonight's top story. Let's raise the big questions then. Is the Election Commission truly a neutral umpire anymore? Does the EC have different rules for the BJP and its rivals? Are cash handouts ahead of elections to be seen as a bribe? Is money power key to elections in states like Telangana? Now, before I come to the talking point, let's just tell you why I'm raising this. Are there 2 rules by the Election Commission? On October 9, the Model Code of Conduct came into force. Elections were announced. On November 7, the Shivraj Singh Chauhan BJP government in Madhya Pradesh releases the Ladli Behna payment for women from underprivileged homes. They got their 1,250 rupees, even though Madhya Pradesh was going to the polls on the 17th. On 15th of November, the Prime Minister released the 15th installment of the Kisan Samman Nidhi nationwide. Remember, 6,000 rupees is dispersed under 3 tranches. On November 27th, the Election Commission bars the KCR government from making Rythu Bandhu payments, even though they had cleared this just 2 days ago. Take a look at more examples potentially of double standards. A complaint that was filed by the Congress is rejected, but a charge that Prime Minister Modi called Rahul Gandhi Murkho ka Sardar. Action by the EC not taken. Complaint filed by the BJP. Charge Rahul Gandhi called Prime Minister Modi a panauti and a pickpocket. Action taken by EC, a notice to Rahul Gandhi. These are just some of the examples. Joining me now, Anil Anthony is BJP's young spokesperson. Ajoy Kumar is Congress's former MP and spokesperson. Krishank Mane is BRS leader. Jayaprakash Narayan is founder of Lok Satta movement, and they've tried to bring some transparency in Indian politics. And let me bring in Jayaprakash Narayan. Lok Satta has often spoken about transparency, need for accountability, need to ensure that our elections are devoid of money power. There's a sense that these state elections, this whole so-called freebie culture has meant that every party is announcing cash handouts. And what seems to have happened is that these cash handouts seem to have different rules for different parties. What's your sense? Is this in some way undermining democracy when a party says, day before the polls, 5,000 rupees will come into your account under an ongoing scheme?
Thank you, Rajdeep. There are, to my mind, 3 connected issues here. The first is, has the Election Commission overstepped its boundaries? It appears that EC has been inconsistent and arbitrary. I am quite surprised that the order is that you can distribute the money, but it cannot be part of the political discourse during the campaigning. What does it mean? A government that actually does something good, bad, ugly, whatever, it's legitimately done as a public policy, cannot state that in campaigning. What kind of an order is that? And then they cannot promise anything more in the election for the next term if they come to power. While the other parties are free to promise. By definition, it's an arbitrary order. It's not well thought out. The second is when the Election Commission actually had the jurisdiction, legitimate jurisdiction to actually curb some freebies which are clearly beyond the pale of the Constitution, the Commission failed to do so.
Give me an example.
2006, Rajdeep, Tamil Nadu offered color TV. I appealed to the Commission. I told them, ordinarily, Commission has no role in election campaign issues. It's for the people and the political parties. But under what provision of the Constitution is it the role of the government to promote TVs? If you allow color TVs today, tomorrow somebody will say, we'll give you 10 grams of gold. If you allow that day after tomorrow, somebody will say, I'll give you 5 bottles of liquor every month. What is wrong with that? So there is a line, there is a threshold which is being crossed. The Commission failed to act. And now actually one party offered 10 grams of gold as part of the marriage, 1 lakh rupees in cash plus 10 grams of gold. Already it's happening. Tomorrow I'll not be surprised if somebody offers liquor. But the final question, the bigger question is, where will it stop? Apart from elections, elections is only one thing. I don't think elections, it makes serious difference. People see through all this. But where will it stop? Certainly, we have to have welfare in a poor country. You cannot say you will ignore the pain of poverty in the short term. But if that's all the government does, that's all the government publicizes, we're in serious danger. Article 293 imposes the burden on the union. The Constituent Assembly clearly debated this repeatedly. Ambedkar and Munshi and others said, the credit to the Union of India and the financial stability, they have to be managed federally. Under Article 293, the union government has the responsibility to ensure that certain conditions are imposed for the debt. Now, what we should do is, whatever you want to do, the states are free to do. After all, you are elected by the people. But you cannot borrow money to give short-term welfare measures. Borrowed money has to be for investment. There has to be some basic rule. The Constitution provides for that. So I think beyond the election, irrespective of who wins, we have to now look at that. Otherwise, Telangana, right now, in the last 5 years, has been giving about 50,000 crores plus annually in terms of short-term welfare measures. What is offered by one of the parties, in addition to 50,000 crores, is about 80,000 crores per year. Simply unsustainable. On top of it, an old pension system, unviable pension system, going back from the national pension system, which is funded, going back to the unfunded pension system that will destroy the states. Now, you cannot have it in perpetuity. You have to take them out of election campaign, and the union government has to play its rightful role under Article 293 of the Constitution, and the government has been failing in doing that.
Jayaprakash Narayan, as you said, you're worried about the impact, the financial drain this competition is having over various schemes. We moved from the role of the EC to the financial implications of these various schemes. Should we therefore make a distinction between benefits that will actually improve the lot of people like Rythu, Bandhu, possibly with farmers, and should we look at free mobiles and free scooties that are being offered as examples, or color TV, as you mentioned, as clear bribes?
Rajdeep, you're absolutely right. In a democracy as poor as India, it's impossible not to have short-term welfare measures. Even rich countries do that. You can't sustain democracy, you can't bring society together unless there is some kind of mitigation of poverty. But in what form and to what extent? These are two central questions. Take loan waiver as an example. All my life I worked in the farm sector. Everybody in Telugu states and some southern states, they all know about my credentials. But loan waiver is a terrible way of doing it. 70% of the loans of farmers are not in the organized sector. They're informal loans. So only 30%. And among them, those who repay, they don't get anything. That means you're basically saying if you repay, you're a useless fellow. You're not a smart fellow. If you don't repay, you get the benefit. Now, it's killing the culture. What's important is adequacy and timeliness of the credit with low interest rate. For that, interest subsidies are available. So there is a way of helping farmers. We are helping exactly the wrong way to get short-term political gains. And the larger question is, unless there is a balance between short-term welfare measures and long-term economic growth, this country will be in deep danger. I plead with all political parties with great respect. I never abused political parties. I believe politics is a noble endeavor. I know they have a very difficult task and a thankless task of uniting society and addressing the aspirations of the poor, but there has to be some long-term responsibility. If you simply keep on borrowing for short-term, right now, Rajdeep, Indian states, all states, I'm giving you the average, and the specific states, they vary from state to state. If you take the salaries, pensions, and interest burden alone, without spending a rupee for the people. The average now is 120% of the own revenues of the states. And about 75% of the total revenues, including Government of India transfers. And that amount is going to increase within the next 15 years to 220% of the own revenues and about 120, 130% of the total revenues. We are getting into an unsustainable position. And on top of it, not only extraordinary, short-term welfare measures, tomorrow they can be withdrawn. After all, they go into the poor people, large number of them, small amounts per capita. You can withdraw them as poverty declines. Maybe you can actually reduce the burden on the exchequer. And any future government can restructure it, and you're anyway funding it today. But unfunded old pension system for 3% of the population, a settled issue 19 years ago by Vajpayee government and Manmohan Singh government. State after state, you offer to benefit 3% of the people at the cost of 97% with unfunded pension, with mounting pension burden, with what is called wage index linkage. And therefore, people who retired with 40,000 rupees salary are now getting 1,60,000 rupees. You want to perpetuate that and transfer the burden to the future and guarantee destruction of the states and the union.
Okay.
What kind of responsibility is that?
I think that's a
you
very
have to talk
sobering.
About that. You cannot simply allow the future of India to be completely destroyed, not even mortgaged, at the altar of temporary electoral gain. I understand the pain of politics. Some balance, for heaven's sake, some balance. That's all I'm pleading.
Okay, I think that's a sobering note for our three political representatives from the three parties of Kerala. Do not mortgage the future for short-term gains at election time. Rythu, Bandhu, by all accounts, has been a beneficial scheme. It unfortunately excludes tenants and agriculture labor, and they too are the ones who really need the benefit at times of cash incomes. For now, I appreciate my guest joining me here on the news today.